What
Okay.
page in the Lev Tov?
Okay. What page on the Lev Tov? Let's say Ayin Hey. Achela Kasheni. Is that right? The same thing by you?
The Philip page, yeah.
Yeah, Achela Kasheni.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shara
Ayin
Kriya.
what?
What's that?
Ayin what?
Ayin Hey.
Ayin Hey.
Is that by you?
Well, I have an Ayin Hey in
Okay, so Shara Kriya Perik Beis. Try that.
Sharachnia Perik page.
Shara Kriya Perik Beis. And we'll even start from Perik Sheni from the beginning of Shara Kriya. You have it, Avo Beir Chelke HaKniya, or Vata Beir. Moshe, you're standing on your head. Oh, all right, now you're at the coastal. All right. You have it? Shara Kniya Perik Beis. You have it? Okay.
Yeah.
So Perik Beis is to explain the different types of Kniya. And the first one's not good. The second one is okay, and the third one is what we're discussing. So I'm going to explain the different types, basically the different types of hachno. Hachno nechlekes l'shloisha chalokim. Elek echad hi hachno hakerles b'nei adam sugim ram tabal chayim. This subservience, basically, that includes people and even some types of animals. That what that type of hachno is also a siyad. That's a lack of ability, like a giving up, a regesh nechisus shel hanefesh. I wanted to look up how you say nechisus in English, but I'm subservient and I'm machnia because I have no self. Nechisus is someone who always feels that he's wrong, everyone's putting him down. And because of that, he said, and because of that, the person suffers. Things that he didn't have to because it's not real. He doesn't know how to get out of it. He says this type of hachna is by foolish people. Because they don't recognize their true koiches. They don't appreciate what a person is, what his abilities are. He says, and that's called hachna. It's not real hachna. It's just a borrowed term. It's not really hachna. Also, siyad means when you give up. And nechis is feeling like a nothing. But that's not really hachna. It just looks a little bit like hachna because you are always submissive and, down. But that's not hachna. And it's a blindness that's caused because of his foolishness. He doesn't appreciate his abilities and who he is. On the bottom in the Piskei Lev, he translates this pasuk, Kilibam tzafatem misochel, neshehelamta me'asechel. As Hagisha Libam, because you looked away from the Seichel. How do you get to their hearts? Okay, therefore you weren't able to raise them up. because he didn't have the seichel. Avachna amitis. So that's not really hachna, he's saying. He says, the real hachna, he says, haba achreish nefesh adam nisreimim of his nasa. It's after a person has already lifted himself up. He appreciates his value. He appreciates that he's way better than an animal. He's not just another animal. You know, there's a whole movement out there. People who say the animal rights. You know, what makes you better than an animal? Right, Barry has a story from many, many years ago. They sent him from the Kosovo for a Shabbos meal, this guy and his girlfriend. And the whole meal, the guy's talking about, he was a vegetarian, and he was talking about, you know, that animals are equal. Who makes you better than an animal? Like, well, you're better than an animal. At one point, Barry just like had a little bit enough. He says, my Shabbos table, I don't have to listen to this whole Shabbos. And he asked the guy, he says, if your son comes home and says he wants to marry a cow, will you be okay with that? And the guy hemmed and hawed, and he had to say yes, because otherwise he has to admit that animals and people aren't the same. But his girlfriend looked at him a little skewed, like, you know, come on, get real. But, you know, as he says, Hachna starts after I appreciate who I am. And after the nefesh has raised itself up from, you know, it's not being similar to the lower strata of people. Well, in America, they call truck drivers. You don't have to necessarily drive a truck, but and that comes. Why does he? Because he has more wisdom. And he values his nefesh. He understands what a tzuras ha'odam is. There are a lot of people out there don't appreciate what a tzuras ha'odam is, and they live a life basically of animals. So they have, you know, some intellect, and they could accomplish more, so they could live more like animals, right? But a person who has a tzuras ha'odam, who appreciates what an odam is and what Hashem created an odam, he's on a whole different level. And from a clarity of which midas are good and proper and which are not good. And if after that I'm machnia myself, after, in other words, that comes from the fact because you really think you're a nothing, so you're a nothing. That's not hachna. Hachna is when you really appreciate that you are, and you're still machnia, osi mida mishubach. Then it's a praiseworthy, then it's true humility, and you submit yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for example. That's true. He says, but if it's not like this, it's not included among then that hachno that doesn't come like this. Rather, the hachno he spoke about at the beginning, that's not listed among good midas. It's like an animal submissive to its master, to the person who owns the animal. So it makes the animal now such a special thing because look, he's submissive. No. So now he's saying this was the first chelik, even though it seems to have rolled over a little bit into the second chelik. He says the second chelik is when I'm machnia myself. I'm submit myself, I'm submissive to other people for one of the reasons that are coming up. They're like the king. And he's a servant, he's of the king. Or could be a lower level, but still. He says, for example, he gives different examples. A captive who's in the hands of his enemy, he was captive.
Captor.
But Evan and Nosim, I don't have a servant, a slave, in the hands of his master. Or Or sometimes, because you need that person, but you need very much what he has. Like someone who needs a job. Or a poor person who needs the support of a rich person. Or a Talmud that needs a Rebbe. Or maybe he has a debt that he admits he has, that he can't pay it. So also, it obligates him to be machni himself in front of the person who he owes the money. As it says, a loiva is considered an eved to the malva. Or because he appreciates that he's falling short of what he should be. And he doesn't really know the right way to go. And when he has an opportunity to come to the Navi of his generation, the Gadol of his generation, the teacher of his generation, or Rav HaMalamed, or he says a Rebbe that can teach him the right way. That's Meichiach. He rebukes to teach you the right way. So he submits himself to be like a Talmud, to be a Makabel. My Shomer, I'm saying is a Golo Shimusha, serving the Rebbe is greater than the actual learning from him, because you learn all kind of derech eretz, ways of living. Shenemar, we see a pasuk. Vayom Yeshafat ha'en pay navi l'Hashem v'nidushas Hashem. The Yeshafat said, the king, is there not a navi here? Is there no navi here that we could go to him and hear what Hashem has to say? One of the servants said, Elisha ben Shaphat. Here's Elisha, that he served Eliyahu. And the Gemara learns from this pasuk, he didn't say, here's Elisha who learned from Eliyahu. Asher Yotzak. We see that the relationship of Yeshua that he's praised is that he's Misharsai of Moshe. Okay, so then we have this Halek Sheni, that I value myself, that I appreciate that I have a need. Sounds like it could be a financial need, a spiritual need. It could be in a situation where I'm under someone else's power and under control, and therefore I'm machnia myself. And he says, he says, even though if you're wise, it's the right behavior. You need the guy, so you gotta be. You have to be machnia yourself. You have a need. It's not wrong. Says, but it's not something that applies to everybody. Why? It doesn't encompass everybody. It doesn't include everybody. Only those who need to receive something, or lacking something. This akna only applies to them. But let's say the person who's giving, the master, the king, the Rebbe, this akna doesn't apply to him. It's not always true. When I have a need, I have a need. When I don't have a need, I don't have a need. For example, the captive, when he's free, the slave who redeems himself, or the borrower, when he pays up, or the Talmud, when he's not with this Rebbe. The poor person who's not with the rich person, they don't have to act with hachda to them. So this hachda, even though it's a right hanhoga for the situation, but it's not something inherent. It's not a meter that's inherent. It only when the situation requires it, So it's a correct hanhoga. But that's not what we're talking about. We're
What
talking about
what tanhaga? I'm sorry.
a way of acting, a behavior.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. But when we talk about hachna, says the Chovos haLevavos, and this is why he's defining it. That's being machnia, being submissive to HaKadosh Baruch. Everybody in the whole world, this applies to. At all times, at all places, our relation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to be with hachna. Says the Chovos haLevavos, and it's in this shar. This is the hachna that we're dealing with here. That's our point. And someone who has this midah, Sefer HaKodesh, onav. He's referred to as an onav. Right? He has all kind of words here. Onav is in Bamidbar, Nivza be'enav is in Tilim, Tonua, Dako, Shval Ruach, Ruach Nishbara, Nitke, Rach Levav, Nechei Ruach, Lev Nishbara, Nefesh Shacha. All these are expressions, different expressions of humility, of being submissive. But we're talking here's something that applies to everybody in all times. It's our relationship. This is the relationship we're meant to have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're makabel. He says, when we speak about achno now, in this sefer, right? And as he's talking from now on, when I say hachno, this is what I mean. This is the highest level of this midah. He says, and someone who merits this hachno, then the road to being close to Hashem and standing in front of Hashem is very short. It's not a long road. The opposite is gaiva, and there it says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that him and me, we can't live in the same world. About gaiva is doiche, ragle ashchina kaviyachol. It's the opposite. You're busy with yourself. There's no God when you're busy with yourself. The machnia. So he's close to HaKadosh. In other words, he's fertile ground now. Now it's just a jump to go to the other way. He's prepared himself to be able to be close to HaKadosh Baruch. This mukubal v'rotzeh Baruch, and to be desired and accepted by Hashem. As it says, Zivchei Elokim Ruach Nishbara. The korban that Hashem wants is a broken spirit, a leiv nishba v'nitke Elokim le'sivza. Hashem does not turn away from a broken, a humbled spirit, and therefore you're close to Hashem, and that's what we're looking for here. Okay, look, we got a slow start, but we'll continue with Hashem. Now tomorrow I have a problem with Chura, even though if we're doing it at 8:15 to 8:45, maybe. I'll see. Otherwise, I'll try to get Rabbi Yanofsky on the case.
All right.
Okay, thank you.